ask them about it. And they went back to Berlin after the war, and I was born in Berlin, Germany, halfway across the world, away from family, and my life has been an adventure ever since, thanks to my mom. So, even though I was too small to remember, my mom took me all over Europe, Holland, SeaWorld, Legoland, Germany, all those places. I don't remember, but I have pictures for evidence. And 18 months after having me, much to my dismay, she gave birth to my brother on the opposite side of the country from our family, in the middle of the California desert. Despite being in the desert, my mom made sure that the adventures continued. We went camping. Isaiah ate his first worm. We do not have a picture of that, sadly. We went fishing, kite flying, bike riding. We were the only yard to have a patch of grass in the middle of the desert. My mom made sure we had it all. And then it was time to head to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and the adventure continued. We brought home all kinds of creatures from the creek in South Carolina, and if my mom didn't want them in the house, we didn't know. We went to Myrtle Beach. We had the best parties, birthday parties Pierce Elementary School had ever seen. We had the coolest bikes, the best rollerblades, the coolest scooters, an entire bin of dress-up clothes, all of the Barbies and G.I. Joes, a foreign exchange student from Yugoslavia, and a blow-up pool in the backyard. You could not tell us anything. And then after 3 years, it was back to Germany, and the adventure continued. One of the things that really amazes me about my mother, and kind of the first glimpse I think I got of her strength, was when we moved to Germany. My father was deployed or in the field for most of the 4 years that we spent there. It would have been easy to stay on the base and not venture out much. A lot of my friends there did. But my mom was fearless and absolute in her resolution for us to learn German and experience as much of the European culture as we could and pack into those 4 years. And damn it, we did. We played soccer in the German leagues. We took violin lessons at the German music school. We shopped at all the German grocery stores and went to the German butcher, participated in all the events at German Club in our school. We took horse riding lessons at the German stable down the street, visited German hospitals and orphanages and at Christmas to donate our toys before we could get new ones. Every long weekend and vacation from school, we went on some excursion somewhere in Europe and took a bunch of our friends with us. And we were always the best dressed, best behaved kids doing whatever we were doing, and we have the pictures to prove it. Towards the end of our stay in Germany, my dad went to Iraq for 14 months. I can't even imagine how scared and lonely it must have been for my mother, having seen the dangers of war herself, and she was by herself in Germany with these 2 young kids. We visited the world's biggest cuckoo clock, in the Black Forest, rode every single ride at Europa Park and Legoland, Deutschland, saw Stomp live in London, Big Ben and the Queen's Jewels, went to the museums and hiked in Austria, Poland, and Holland. We skied in the Alps, climbed the tallest tower in the Neuschwanstein Castle, not once, not twice, but 3 times. We cruised down the Rhine River, visited the oldest toy store in Munich, ice skated on Frozen Pond in Bad Nauheim, rode bikes to the historic downtown Butzbach, and so many more adventures. The list goes on and on. I mean, really, how many little black kids get to experience those kind of things? And all before the age of 12, mind you. Those were some of the most magical years of my life. We basically lived out the Brothers Grimm's fairy tale while we were over in Europe, and my mom made it happen. I could go on and on and on about all the amazing experiences we had after we moved on to Boston and down to North Carolina. There are so many, but I want to fast forward to the day that my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had just come home from school, and I walked into her room, as I did every day, to give her all the day's gossip that happened at Southeast Guilford High School. She was holding a letter, and she had tears in her eyes, and she just said, "I have breast cancer." I didn't know what to say, and I walked out of the room for a second and dropped my backpack, and then I walked back in. And those of you who know me know I'm not a hugger, but I walked back in and I squeezed my mom tight, and I told her it was going to be okay and that we would get through it. Our adventure as a family would certainly continue. I don't know if she believed it, but I did. You see, I knew my mom was going to make it because of all those experiences that she had given us, despite everything that was going on in our lives. She's tenacious and bold in her reach. She sticks up for what is right. She brings people together, as you all see tonight. I can't believe how many people are here tonight to support her. She has never met a stranger. She is a perfectionist who makes sure everything she touches is executed to the highest standard. She is unfadingly kind and incredibly generous. She is also stern when you need it. Isaiah knows all about that. Ask me about it. She has overcome more obstacles in her life than most people, and she still is always willing to go the extra, not 1 mile, but 100 miles, just to make sure everyone around her is okay and having the best day. Everything I am and everything I have achieved is because who she is and because of the life that she gave me. She is a bad lady and she is a survivor.